Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is another episode of MB Snippet. I have no idea what number this is, and it really doesn't matter. I'm just glad to be back. For real? Oh, okay. Well, either way, I'm glad to be back. It's your it's your not so favorite host, Welly F, and it's the Bearcat himself, Mr. Brooks. How you doing, young sir?
Blessed and highly favored.
That, hey, that's a good thing to be right now, man. That's a real good thing to be right now. Hey, I mean, this snippet really isn't going to be that long. I'm really just going to get straight to the point, based on the fact that I was just curious about a few things, and I wanted to know how other people would view these set of tweets that I saw the other day. I kind of have an idea how you view them, but I'm gonna just go ahead and put them up. Um, so this Johnny Holman guy posted a tweet that says, "Still have no idea how people can work a full-time job, cook dinner often, exercise regularly, enjoy weekends, keep the apartment clean. Seems basic, but I can't consistently do it." And got some feedback that says current full-time 40-hour a week jobs aren't designed for single people to do this. They're post-war relics and depend on the unpaid labor of a spouse for cooking, cleaning, shopping, etc. You're not deficient for not being able to do it yourself. When you see those sets of tweets, man, how do you feel about that, man? You kind of already know how I feel, but I'm just curious to know how you feel about. Let's just start with the first part. I mean, his complaint is, I mean, not necessarily complaint, but his beef is he can't consistently do what 80% or 90% of Americans do.
I call BS. Simply because organization limits chaos. That's it. Organization limits chaos. You can't work your. I'm a part of America that works 40 hours a week at minimum. With and my commute is a little bit more favorable. I'd say my commute is about an hour and 10, hour and 20 minutes. And I know that's not common for people in Houston to be able to go to and from work in that amount of time. It's probably an hour one way, probably an hour and a half getting back home. But if I come home and I get to business, I can do all of those things. But if I come home and I decide I'm going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix for an hour, or I'm going to do this for an hour or two, then no, I can't accomplish all those things. But if I come home, I immediately change clothes. If I'm going to go work out, I go work out. Or if I'm going to cook, I start cooking. If I do these things and not be lazy, then you can accomplish all those things. My mother did all those things for a number of years. So it's not impossible.
So with her feedback saying, well, we're not designed to do these things. Like basically, in a way, when I look at this, who this is an animated person, I'm just gonna assume, well, they're non-binary. So this individual says that, okay, you're not deficient. Like, how do you take her comment? Like, this person's comment, like, how do you view it?
I view that as her accepting society norms now. We're all just a bunch of lazy people. That's why we're not designed to do. And I mean, that's a fact. We're all a bunch of lazy people, bro. Let me tell you how lazy I am. I am going to go buy food tonight instead of cooking simply because my meal prep isn't going to arrive till tomorrow. So instead of me cooking and prepping my own stuff, I paid somebody to meal prep for me. And I could cook tonight, the one night that I don't have the meal prep, but I'm going to go buy some food. We're built to be lazy. That's what our problem is. We're not designed to commit and be disciplined to anything.
Dude, you know how when I read this, man, I just automatically thought, I mean, okay, this is a typical fairy boy approach to life these days. These fairy boys, they have a tendency to feel like, I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna complain about, things that I'm supposed to do because, in all honesty, I've gotten to a point in my life where I kind of feel like I shouldn't have to do these things anymore. And I agree with you 100%. Like, come on, man. Like, you don't want to work 40 hours a week. You can't cook dinner often. You don't exercise regularly. You come to Twitter and and I noticed this person was a blue check. And like I said, we're being led by people that live a life that isn't even half of what our ancestors lived in this country. Like 50, 60 years ago, you had your average woman that was, I'm talking about like the boomer generation, the baby boomer generation, because I want to say around the 60s and the 50s, you had women that were pretty much just getting out of the house, that were just getting to the point where, like, okay, we can work now. We can fulfill the jobs of secretaries, nurses. We can do these things. That was the primary job of women, like in the 50s and 60s, moving forward. Obviously, around the 70s, when they started trying to erase the gender roles, um, you start seeing women start getting into like being police officers, and obviously more fields started to be shared by both genders. But it's mind blowing to me that, like you said, you can look at somebody like your mom, like my mom, and a bunch of people's moms and dads, and they're like, well, they did a lot of this stuff on a regular basis, and they didn't really have a reason to complain about it, because I'm guessing they really felt. I think they felt more of a pride in doing that work. I think that the modern man and the modern woman, they don't really see a lot of pride in doing work anymore. And I understand that, but then it comes back to like, well, we once again, this dude's a blue check, and I haven't really did any history on him, but I can only imagine that a majority of this guy's week is probably
Oh,
sitting on his butt
easily.
at a computer. Do you understand that 40, 50 years ago, most men were in manufacturing field, probably the engineering field. You had most men as gas attendants. They were milkmen. Like you got to think about it. Like once again, you always got to think about how stuff has gotten so automated. Like you got from one point you had mailmen that walked the block. Now mailmen have the vehicles to go up the block. Like stuff has been adjusted so much to help the common man do his work easier. Like you just said, I don't feel like cooking today, so I'm gonna order something so my meal prep could come in. And that's another thing. You ain't even doing the meal prep; it's being done for you. And like it's just mind blowing to me how people can come to these forums and complain about stuff that our ancestors did with ease, and they took pride in it. Once again, I'm not saying that, oh, we should glorify doing massive amounts of work, but it still brings me to the question: are we just mentally weaker than our ancestors? Do we lack the mental fortitude that our ancestors had? Because when I see that comment on there, all I see is somebody coddling, and that's a huge problem with society today. We coddle, coddle, coddle. We coddle so much that it almost gets to the point where it's clearly weakening people to the point where they can't accept reality. I mean, reality is, if you don't got your own business, if you didn't put in the work for, I guess, 8 to 10 years to establish yourself where you don't have to work and you could just work your own hours, I mean, what are we complaining about? You come into Twitter and complain about what the average American, I want to say probably 80 to 90% of Americans are working class individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't all love it, but come on, man. Like, you're complaining, and once again, we live in a society where cashiers are being erased by machines. You know why those machines are coming in? Because companies don't feel the need to pay these people that are complaining about a job that could be done by a machine.
You don't
Like,
want to show up on time. You got all these disciplinaries. Let me put this machine out here right in the lobby in front of you to let you know that
so
you
you
are
just throw
replaceable.
it. I keep mentioning that this guy's a blue check because I look at blue checks as leaders in society, people that kind of they obviously have some type of following because they get verified on these things and people listen to their opinions. The thing that scares me about that is when you have people like this guy stating that he can't do these things regularly. It's like, okay, like you said, are you really organized to the point where you can do these things regularly? How bad do you really want to do these things? Are you just being problematic for the purpose of being problematic? Like come on, like I see as I walk through normal society every day, I see things that bother me on a daily basis. And as anybody else, I kind of feel like if I feel like there's something that needs to be done and I can't do it, I will find a way. So I just feel like he lists the basic components of the average American and probably even a Canadian. And I'm just like, bruh, you can't do these things? Like, where are we at in society where modern men can't take up the load? And to be honest with you, I'm almost willing to bet that you probably have more modern women that can go lengthier work hours than some of these fairy boys out here. It's like, what's going on? I understand that the testosterone in the modern men has dropped severely over the past 20, 30 years, but I really haven't found any study that shows like, okay, these men need a certain amount of testosterone to approach life with a certain amount of mental fortitude. I mean, it's just baffling to me. So, I know this strays away from the normal things that we talk about on MB Snippets, but it's just wild to me how we're not seeing the small issues like a person complaining about a work week that he probably went to school for. Like, obviously, you got your college shirt on. So when you were in college, which 30, 40 years ago, college was a privilege. I can't even really state what it is now. But when you were in college 30, 40 years, I said 34 years ago. When you were in college 10, 15 years ago or whatever, when you were coming out, were you coming out with the realization that you would actually have to put in work hours?
Yeah, I knew I was gonna have to work. And I went to college so I wouldn't have to do manual labor. I went to college so I'd
Gotcha.
have to do mental labor. So I figured I was gonna go somewhere and labor mentally. I wasn't just gonna be able to kick back and make 100,000 and work 20 hours a week. It doesn't happen. That's just the realism to me. Maybe it happens to some people, but
How often do you complain?
I'm usually cool when the check come in.
I'm just saying though, and you got to imagine, dog, like the type of checks that our ancestors were getting weren't even half of what we're getting today. I mean, obviously, we got inflation across the board, but for the most part, a blue check like this guy, I can only imagine that he lives a fairly decent life compared to the rest of working class America. So, once again, like, where are we in society where we are complaining about what 90% of Americans are doing? Like, come on, like, there are people that have it far worse than, oh my God, I have to stay in line at a Starbucks out for an extra 5 minutes. Come on, man. Like, we have to stop being so soft in society. Because, in my honest opinion, that is causing more problems that people aren't really noticing. And to me, it's insane to think that we've advanced so far in society mentally, but we've digressed physically. Like, dude, get off your hiney and get your fairy butt over to your job in your cubicle and work your 8 to 9 hours. You'll be fine. So, with that being said, I mean, I really wonder how our listeners feel about their current working conditions. Do they want to have their own businesses? Do they want to quit their jobs? Do they feel like they're overworked? I'm just curious, man, because to me, all this moaning and complaining about things that are basic. You want to get to a basic level in life. You took the basic step to get there. Now you're complaining. Like, you went to college, you knew what you wanted to do with your life. You went down this certain path. Now you're living it, and now you're complaining. Like, we got to do better in society because our mentalities are getting passed on to the next generation, and the way we're going doesn't really seem healthy. And I think that's why depression is at an all-time high. Suicide rate has spiked. Once again, birth rates have dropped. Like, I don't know what's going on in society, and I just felt like this tweet kind of embodied what is the underlying cause. And I really feel like the underlying cause is we're not even appreciative of the advances we made in society, and all we can do is complain. It's wild, man. But anyways, I'm gonna get off my soapbox, man. Like you said in the beginning, and it's a blessing to be here. And I just want to remind people, hey, come over to the YouTube channel, drop a comment, Tell us how you feel. Um, I I could be wrong about what I'm saying. I could be being mean about what I'm saying, but the reality is, I really think that we just need to kind of toughen up in society today because there's no reason in the world to be financially in a better place, but we're just constantly making dumb decisions and then we want to complain. So either way, man, make sure you drop a comment, share your thoughts, and remember, man, we alive, so it's a blessing. We living, we learning. And Jay, you got something you want to say, man? Just you just over there chilling, man. Well, anyways, man, I appreciate you for letting me get on my soapbox for a minute, man. With that being said, peace.